Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of Ask Dr. Bitcoin. I'm your host, Mark Hopkins, also known as Dr. Bitcoin. Exchanges, investment apps, OTC. How should you buy crypto in 2023? This is something we've talked about in the past, but we've never talked about it in 2023. The landscape has changed dramatically. We're going to talk about it. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this. As we mentioned at the top, there's a bunch of ways you can go about buying cryptocurrency, but the method in which to do it within these categories has changed dramatically over the years. We talked about this first 5 or 6 years ago on the show. We're going to update you on the best way to do it in 2023. Now, the first category that I like to mention is exchanges, because it's the one that people are most familiar with. You hear about large-scale exchanges in the news all the time, like Coinbase Pro, like Binance, like Kraken. These are not the best way to usually acquire Bitcoin. That's not what they're designed for. They're designed, although you can use them for that, they are designed for trading Bitcoin. These are at their core trading platforms. So the same way that you think about like Scottrade or any of the major stock trading platforms that exist out there for professionals, you should think about a cryptocurrency exchange. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use it to acquire cryptocurrency. That is one of the purposes for their existence. It's just not going to be the easiest way. Why? Well, a cryptocurrency exchange is going to require between 5 and 40 points of data, depending on how much cryptocurrency you want to trade in, what type of leverage you're going to use, a whole bunch of other complicated factors that go into what they call their KYC AML policy. So if you're looking to just get some cryptocurrency in your pocket today because you want to do a buy and hold, or maybe you want to acquire some cryptocurrency to make a purchase, then you're going to want to look into some of the other methods we're going to talk about today. Really, when you're making your decision about how to acquire cryptocurrency, you want to think about what it is you want to do with it. Are you looking to buy and hold? Are you looking at it as an investment? Are you looking at it as a tool, like you want to get into NFTs or Ethereum? Or are you trying to purchase something that you can't use a credit card for? So let's talk about the next thing on the list, aside from exchanges, which we will circle back to in a second. But let's talk about the investment apps. These would include names like Coinbase or Cash App. PayPal has an option for this. Some of the unique newer banking apps that are like the neobanks like Revolut have options for buying cryptocurrency within them. Some of them allow you to transfer your cryptocurrency away from those apps. Some of them will domicile it for you. There's a bank app that I use called Current. Like many of these banking apps, it will allow you to buy Bitcoin within the app, but it won't allow you to transfer it anywhere. So if you're thinking, hey, I just want to buy some Bitcoin so I can have exposure to the upside, I'm thinking about it like an investment, that might be an option for you. You're never going to be actually able to take possession of your Bitcoin or your Ethereum. But if you're only looking at it as an exposure vehicle, you're only looking to have part of your portfolio exposed to the volatility of crypto, then that might be the option for you. However, if you're looking to buy small amounts of Bitcoin or Ethereum for personal use, or if you don't trust centralized organizations to hold your cryptocurrency for you, I don't, you might want to think about using applications like Cash App or Coinbase. Now, these, much like these neo-banking alternatives that will allow you to buy small amounts, and we're talking any amount between like $1 to $5,000 or $10,000 worth of Bitcoin a week. That's how much you can expect to be able to buy through Coinbase or Cash App or PayPal. And if you know how to operate your own, what they call non-custodial wallet, or a wallet that lives where you control the private keys, lives in your device, you can transfer your cryptocurrency away from PayPal, away from Cash App, and away from Coinbase. So you don't have to trust them to keep it safe for you. You can trust yourself. That is my preferred method. We'll go more into that when we talk about some of the deeper properties of cryptocurrency in future episodes. Now, the other way to buy cryptocurrency is OTC. Now, I mentioned that because OTC is useful for a wide variety of use cases, whether or not you are buying massive amounts or you're buying it to use it as exposure to the asset class, or if you're looking to use it to use it, like buying something with it, or to participate in DeFi or Ethereum ecosystem somehow. OTC is useful for all those use cases. It is, however, one of the few ways where you can have less exposure to private data being lost, right? So every other method that we've mentioned up until now exchanges, banking applications, and investment apps, they're all going to ask for multiple points of data. You're going to have to upload your credit card information. You're going to have to upload your driver's license or some sort of ID. You're also generally going to have to provide answers to questions like, what are the source of my funds, if they don't already automatically know as your bank? What am I using this for? You're going to have to answer a lot of invasive questions. And so with OTC, typically, you're going to have a lot less invasive questions. And because it's peer-to-peer, you're not having to deal with a giant compliance department. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to have to give up some private information. Legally, anybody who sells you Bitcoin is required to ask for some very basic points of information, like your driver's license information and your ID if it's above a certain amount. But you have a little bit added padding of protection, because when law enforcement and the IRS and other organizations that these exchanges and banks like to data share with do things like John Doe warrants or data sweeps, basically where they can go up to one of these organizations and say, give me a list of every user that you have that bought between $5,000 and $100,000 worth of Bitcoin. That means your data is going to be part of a giant honeypot of information in a database that these large entities, corporations, and governments can get access to. However, with OTC, you don't have that risk. OTC people usually only have maybe at best a couple hundred customers, and they're not generally subject to John Doe warrants, and they don't usually have data sharing agreements with other large corporations. How do you find an OTC dealer in 2023? Well, that's the rub. We're at the tail end of what has been a multi-year campaign to crack down on the ways in which you can buy cryptocurrency. You now only have just a few options at the national level with exchanges and investment apps. And there was a nationwide sweep in 2020 that rolled up a great many OTC dealers, ended up with the shutdown of a number of OTC boards where you could find those dealers. So the number one way in 2023 to buy your Bitcoin OTC is with a Bitcoin ATM. Now, fortunately, these are, while they're less plentiful than they were maybe a couple of years ago, are still all over the place. If you go to your Google Maps and look up Bitcoin ATM, you'll probably find at least 3 or 4 of them within driving distance, and maybe even one within walking distance in a major metropolitan city for sure. You can still go to a number of boards online where you can find OTC individuals. They are less well used as they were in years past, but some still exist. Local Crypto, Local Coin Swap, and BISC, BISQ, are a few examples of that. There are other boards where you can find peer-to-peer traders that are parts of larger exchanges. Binance operates a P2P board as well, so you can go to some of these larger exchanges, do a search on the site for something that says P2P, and you'll be able to find partners willing to trade peer-to-peer, possibly in your area. I will say it's a lot harder to do this in this day and age, so be prepared for a search if you decide to go this route. But why would it be worth it? Well, aside from the privacy aspects of things, if you are trying to source a large amount of crypto, and by that I mean amounts above $100,000 to $300,000 to $500,000 worth of crypto, if you try to go through one of the investment apps, you'll find it simply impossible to do so. If you go through some of the exchanges that I've mentioned, you're going to find yourself quickly running up against a bunch of roadblocks where they're going to try to pre-qualify you as a purchaser, and you might find it's months before you're able to clear all those hurdles. Whereas with an OTC person, money talks, as they say. As long as you have the cash in hand or are able to wire it same day, you will be able to buy that Bitcoin in a relatively short order. That's one of the beauties of peer-to-peer transactions is, know your customer laws. When you're a large faceless organization, mandate a whole bunch of invasive questions and answers. However, when you're dealing peer-to-peer, it's very easy to know your customer because you can look them in the eye. Anyway, I hope this has been informative of how to buy Bitcoin in 2023. We're going to continue down this road of in-depth education throughout the season, so stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hey, thanks for watching The Merge. We've got a ton more stuff for you to watch on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. Check us out.